Hi, this is Rhonda. Hope everybody's having a good day. And today we are going to make cranberry sauce from scratch. Now, I've only actually done this one time before where I made it myself from scratch last year and it came out very good. And usually my husband makes it, but I've watched him do it so many times. And last year he's quite busy. So I said, hey, how about I try making it this time? And it came out good. So this is only my second attempt, but I probably watched it about 36 times or more. So I hope you enjoyed the video. The first thing we're going to do is whatever brand of cranberries that you want to buy, which is fine. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be the name brand. It could be any type of brand. Is you put it in a colander and you rinse them off and inspect them for defects, because the last thing you want is one that might be rotten or just really in bad shape. So I will readjust the camera and show you what I'm doing here. Bear with me, I'm new at working the camera. Okay, so here we are. So we got some cranberries here, and I'm going to kind of look through them, and like an example would be like this one's not good. So that one is going out. Actually, I'm going to just use the packaging, put the bad ones on the package, and then I can throw them out at the same time. This one doesn't look so great. And that's kind of why I'm doing it early, because sometimes if I let it sit in the fridge too long, I might have some that end up just being in really bad shape. So I only bought this package a week ago, and I'm already finding ones that aren't so wonderful. So it's not a bad idea, I don't think, to go ahead and make up the cranberry sauce ahead of time. Like I said, I'm going to end up freezing it. That's what I did last year. But if you can get your cranberries closer to Thanksgiving or closer to the day that you want to actually cook them, that works out great too. So I'm just looking for ones that are really bad. Something you wouldn't want to eat. And I have 2 packages. I'm going to do a double batch, I think. I might be doing a quadruple batch. I'm going to measure these after I go ahead and go through these and pick out the ones that I really don't want to be eating. And you can actually even smell them. Okay, nothing smells rotten, so that's a good sign. One year we had a bad batch of cranberries. I think I might have let them in the fridge too long, and then we ended up not being able to use them. So it appears that the rest, okay, let's see this one. Whoops, there we go. You would not want that in your cranberry sauce. So you have to kind of, so I'm only going through with the strainer one time. I mean with one bag, because if I had too many in here, I couldn't really do the proper inspection, and then we'd probably end up with ones that weren't so good, which would, one that's not good is going to make the whole batch taste poor, so we don't want that. And this colander that I have makes it a lot easier to do a lot of this stuff. So there's another one. So, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to use every single one. Oh, and then here, a stem. So you'll want to take the stem off. And the cranberry sauce from scratch, to me, tastes a lot better than canned. I do like the canned stuff also. And the version we're making is going to have it's not going to be jelly. It's going to have the cranberries in it. It's not going to be the smooth one that you can buy. Now, some people actually do it from scratch, the smooth one. You have to strain it and everything. I've never tried that at all. I've never actually, I think we only did that one time, and I'm not 100% sure how to do that. So this is just your traditional cranberry sauce. Okay, I think I got all the nasties out, hopefully. I don't see, see, as I'm moving them around, there's a nasty one. Don't want that one. I personally some people just like to eat the cranberry sauce plain. I like to, because I'm not a big gravy person, I like to put the cranberry sauce on my turkey. To me, that tastes good. Okay, so I'm going to rinse these off. And as I'm rinsing them again, I'm going to also check. So this recipe calls for 3 cups of cranberries. So I'm going to see how much a bag makes, because I've taken some out. So I'm not quite sure. I went ahead and tried to do the math, but to me it didn't look right. So I'm just going to measure out 3 cups. I think this is exactly 3 cups. Whoops. Once it hits the sink, I'm not going to use it. Okay. Well, it's a little bit more than 3 cups, but I think it'll do the recipe just fine. So it's like 3.5 cups, which is close enough. We're not baking, we're making something else, so I think it'll be fine. So now I'm going to do the next ones. And you're going to want to make sure, because the recipe is on the bag, to keep at least one of your bags intact so you can refer to the recipe, because otherwise you'll be going, now, what was I supposed to do? You know, it doesn't tell you exactly what to do, so that's why I thought I'd make a video to show people, because I think when you see it being cooked, you know. Now, like this one right here is so mushy. Forget about it. We're not using that one. So I'm going to just go through these again. Here's this little part of a stem that's going out. Another little stem. And it seems like you go through them, you think they're all good, and then you find another one. So you definitely want to make sure that you get all the bad ones out. Okay, so we are at the stove now, and just a kind of a disclaimer, I don't normally put my things on the stove. It's not hot right now. I'm just kind of doing it so that you at home could see it. So what the recipe calls for is, I'm doubling the recipe, so it calls for 1 cup of water to 1 cup of sugar, but because I have twice the amount of cranberries, I'm going to do 2 cups of water. There's 2 cups of water I measured, and 2 cups of sugar. And when you measure sugar, you level it off, something flat like the back of a knife. So 1, 2, and the directions say to bring to a boil on medium heat. So I'm going to turn it on to medium, and everybody knows their own stove, so they kind of know what that's like. Oh, it has to be totally dissolved. It's almost like making Jell-O. So if you like to make Jell-O and you're good at it, you're going to be very good at making cranberry sauce. So, okay. So we are stirring this. Okay, so the recipe says bring water and sugar to a boil in a medium saucepan. Okay, maybe not over medium heat. Medium heat's probably a good idea. Then we're going to add cranberries. Okay, so I'm going to bring this to a boil. And I'm using a big pot too because I always tend to grab a small pot and then I regret it. So I'm using this very large pot today because I don't want to have to regret it. So, but yeah, just make sure it really, you can start to kind of see when it starts to dissolve. Now, I don't make, there's a lot of cranberries that I have here. It's not like a ton because it seems like when I make too much cranberry sauce, and maybe we will eat some in the next few days, and then I'll freeze some of it depending how much it looks like if I have too much for Thanksgiving. But people tend to just use it as a garnish, I feel like. Now, and then there's other folks. We had an aunt once that just loved the cranberry sauce. So it's always really hard for me, I don't know about your family and friends, but it's really hard for me to judge how much am I even supposed to make. Because some years people go through it like crazy, and other years they just take a little. So, and then my son, he's going to be disappointed that he had to work today because he likes to eat his cranberry sauce warm. Right before it starts to really gel, he likes to eat it warm. So sorry about that. I'll have to make some for him another time where he can eat it warm because he sure likes that. So we used to have very, very large Thanksgiving dinners. Now we don't have as many people. So I'm not going to be making as much. But yeah, we used to have the huge Thanksgiving dinners, and as people got married and then they had their own families, and then, maybe it was their tradition, so then they went, and so now our Thanksgiving has shrunk. So everybody has their own traditions. Now this would be a very good one though. If you were going to someone's house and you said, "Can I bring the cranberry sauce?" They would be very impressed that you make cranberry sauce. Even though I don't believe that this is a super hard thing to do. It's time consuming, and if you've never done it before, then you really don't know where the technique is. So it's starting to boil. I took my spoon out for just a few seconds, and now because the sugar is very well blended with the water, and now it's starting to boil. So in just a minute, I'm going to add these cranberries. But you really want to make sure it's boiling good. Okay. So now I pre-measured this, as you saw before, and now I'm going to put this in here. And I'm going to go ahead and mix it some more. So then they said on the recipe, bring it back to a boil again. So we're going to kind of stir it a little bit, bring it back to a boil. Now you will start, it's almost like popcorn. You're going to start hearing stuff pop in a little while, which is good. That's a good sign. So it says that you're supposed to go ahead and boil it. It says reduce, okay, so we started boiling. It says reduce heat and boil gently for 10 minutes. So boil gently. So we haven't even had an aggressive boil. So we'll wait till it aggressively boils. Then I'm going to turn down the heat a little, and then we'll boil, quote, gently. But you can start hear it, like I said, you can hear some of these things start to pop. It's kind of cool that they're actually popping. Okay, now I think it seems to be boiling pretty well, so I'm going to just reduce the heat slightly, keep it boiling well, and then I'm going to be stirring it. So eventually, I believe the best way is See, it's popping. They all have to eventually pop. So, just going to kind of, not necessarily stir it at the second. I'm just going to kind of push it down into the water. Like this. So I believe that this is one of those dishes, in my opinion, that you almost have to see done. Because just following the recipe is good, but to see it being done is even better. So okay, now it's really going. Now I can reduce the heat and start stirring more. And it's starting to smell really good. Okay, let it go a little bit more, and then I'll show you kind of the next step that works well. So in the meantime, I'm going to look at the clock so that I can, okay, I'm looking at the clock so I can get an idea, roughly the 10 minutes that they're talking about. But it's more about, that's just a guideline. 10 minutes is a guideline. It's more about how it's going to look. And that's why I decided to do a video on this. Now see, any ones that aren't popped, I'm taking to the side and I'm smushing them kind of. So that, because this is gonna, you want this to turn on almost like into, you know, jelly. Is what it's actually kind of turns into. So I got to go to the side and pop some of the ones that weren't popped. And this is really starting to smell good. And there is a recipe, by the way, I'm looking, gelled cranberry sauce. Haven't tried doing that yet because I like it whole. But once you kind of know how to do this, I think you can, if you like the gelled one, it's the really smooth one, I think most of the bags of cranberry sauce have that recipe. So you can try that too. Or maybe we might try it another time. But right now I just am doing what I traditionally do, and that's the one that has the pieces. So I'm actually, if you like to play with poppets, this might be fun. Because the ones that haven't popped yet, I'm pushing them to the side and popping them. And if you don't know what a poppet is, ask your kids because they know what a poppet is. It's kind of like bubble wrap, but it's a toy. It's amazing that they did that. Okay. Most of these I think are popped now. Pretty sure. Okay. Turn the heat back up slightly. Everybody has their stove figured out, pretty much. Everybody's range top is slightly different. I have an electric range, so, but it's a flat top, so it's way better than the old ones, but it's still probably different than if you had a gas range doing the same thing time-wise. I'm also at a higher elevation up here, and so that sometimes makes everything, takes longer to boil water. Like, you might be able to do this faster, but I think the 10 minutes is to get it to thicken it. So it's starting to thicken up a bit. So we would traditionally do, before we got so busy that I decided it'd be better just to make it and freeze it, is put it in a fancy looking bowl for Thanksgiving. And you can do that. You don't have to freeze it. I'm only freezing it to just save a step. Just so that I know all I have to do is a couple days before Thanksgiving, take it out, and it'll be ready for Thanksgiving. So that's why I personally do it. So a lot of times you have so many things going on, and then at the last minute after baking all the pies and making cornbread, all of a sudden, oh, we got to do cranberry sauce. The kitchen's finally clean. Time to do cranberry sauce. And I am, by that time, completely exhausted. And even though my husband would do it most of the time, all the time, except for last year when I decided to go ahead and do it, because I wanted to make it up ahead of time and freeze it. I was almost too tired to even, because I told him, I'll do the dishes if you make the cranberry sauce, but I was almost too tired to do it because I had been on my feet all day making pies and cornbread and just prepping. So I kind of like this idea of making it up ahead of time, because even though it's frozen, it still is better than the canned. Because I'm not going to freeze it for that long. I mean, we're looking right now, it's, when I'm filming this, it's the end of October. So it's not going to be frozen for that awfully long. Okay, so now this is pretty close, but we got to thicken this up. We really have to thicken it up because it's almost like at this point now, we're looking for close to Jell-O consistency. So we popped all the ones on the side using, that's why I like to use the wooden spoon. It's easier. And I don't know about how your stove works, but based on what I'm doing, I keep on adjusting my temperature. Because we don't want it to burn, but we want it hot enough that it's going to thicken. And it is starting to thicken. And it's one of those things where you don't want to rush it. You can't rush it. And also, the other thing I wanted to mention is I always use pure cane sugar. And it makes a difference, especially when you're making something like this, or you're making candy, baked goods. You know, if you're putting sugar in your coffee, I think it really doesn't matter what type of sugar you're using. But when you're going ahead and you're doing certain things, you definitely want the pure cane sugar. We're not even at 10 minutes yet, but it's getting close. It is getting very close. So maybe there's a reason they tell you. See, it's, when I scraped, I'll show you in a minute. When I scraped, see, it's starting to thicken. That's how you want it all to be that way. There's certain areas that are starting to thicken now. So I can kind of see where I'm starting to get close, because if you can see the side, it's starting to like get thick on the sides. But I'm just going to keep on going here, because it takes patience to make this. That is for sure. And that's why when it's the night before Thanksgiving, when we're doing this, I'm just like, oh, I just want to go put my feet up already. But you can do it the night before Thanksgiving. You definitely don't want to do it the day of Thanksgiving, because it will not set up. You definitely want it in the fridge, chilling, for sure. Some people make this. My mom used to make the cranberry sauce all year round, because her and my dad really liked it. Now, what she would do is use less sugar. I don't know if that would make it not as, you know, it wouldn't thicken up as much. But when my son was going to college, he lived with my parents for a while, because they lived very close to the college. And he says Grandma used to use less sugar, and she used to make it all the time. So I'm just pretty much following the recipe. I think I've had, you know, a little bit more cranberries than I needed, which is fine, because then maybe it won't be quite as sweet, because cranberries are naturally sweet anyway. So now we are getting extremely close. I said, don't want to burn it, don't want it underdone. We're looking for close to jelly or Jell-O consistency. Hope everybody's having a good day today. Oh, okay. Here's another disclaimer. Be careful because you could get burned. I just got a good idea to wear a red shirt, by the way, a rusty color shirt to make this, because there's a good chance you're going to stain your shirt possibly. I mean, I just got burned with some of the stuff jumping up on me. So if you have small children or dogs, you're going to want to keep them away from this. You don't want them like necessarily, you know, do it when your baby's having a nap, because, or your toddler's having a nap, because it will, if they're underfoot and it pops up. Same thing with your dog. Tell them to go lay down. Give them a treat later, because it can pop up and burn you. I do tend to get burned in the kitchen a lot, because I do spend a lot of time in the kitchen. That's one of the reasons I decided to, whoa, I'm also a really messy cook. I decided to do this channel too, because I spend so much time in the kitchen. I'm like, well, you know, it'd be fun to share some of the, you know, some of the tips and tricks, and just through years of experience with other people. So I thought that'd be kind of fun to do. So, all right. So this is pretty darn thick, and I think it is ready. I'm ready to turn off the heat. And it is. So I'm going to turn off the heat. I'm going to remove it. And it's definitely got to cool off before I can do anything. Okay. So there's the burn from there's the burn from the cranberry sauce adventure. Some people get tattoos. I get burned from cooking. Okay. Anyway, all right. So this is, I'm going to just move this so you can kind of see here. There is the cranberry sauce. Hi, we're back. I'm icing my burn from the cranberry sauce here. And I am ready to go ahead and get the cranberry sauce into containers. So you don't want to put it into a plastic container if it's hot, because it will melt the plastic container. But because it's kind of like Jell-O, we kind of want it to be in the container it's going to be in. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that. And then you can see already it's starting to set up more. All right. To readjust the camera angle. Okay. So I have a container like this. I have a bigger version of this, and that's what I usually would serve my cranberry sauce in, a very fancy bowl. Now, let's see. Okay, so like that. It's already starting to set up nicely, and then it'll finish setting up in the refrigerator. But I'm going to put it in the fridge, and then I'm just going to put the rest of it in this other glass container. So I'm going to, you can see, I'm right-handed, so I'm using my left hand though. It's more difficult, sorry. Okay, I'm just going to be scraping the bowl I'll let that cool off 100%, and then I'll put it in the refrigerator. This one's going to go in the refrigerator. This one, I might put in the fridge overnight and then freeze it, and then I'll put a top on it. And I might even put the whole thing into a Ziploc storage bag just to go ahead and make sure it stays really fresh tasting, so it doesn't get any smells of the freezer or anything. But as you can see, this is already starting to set up, and here is the cranberry sauce. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I think it's fun sometimes to go ahead and try something new. And last year I tried to make cranberry sauce on my own new, and now I can actually make it. So it makes you feel proud of yourself, and hope everybody has a great day, and look for those cranberries and at the store. Sometimes if you wait to the last minute, you're not going to find them. That's what I found around in my neck of the woods. So, all right, have a great day, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.